Now let's learn the front piece. It's divided into the left front and right front. This refers to the actual wearing position. Both are made up of the hem, body, and bust piece. The crocheting method is almost the same as the back body. You also need to bind off under the arms. The neckline requires short rows at the shoulders. The technique is the same as before. Everyone follow the method you learned earlier. Refer to the chart for crocheting. After finishing the shoulders, you need to join and bind off with the back body. Below will provide the method for joining and binding off. Learn the method before crocheting. The first method is stitch-to-stitch joining. This method is commonly used when both pieces are in loop state. It's a commonly used joining technique. You connect the fabric pieces by binding off together, usually used to join the shoulders of front and back bodies. Both fabric pieces are in loop state. We'll take the stockinette side as the right side. Joining and binding off is usually done on the wrong side of the fabric, meaning the two pieces should be placed with right sides together. Usually one of the pieces doesn't cut the yarn. This yarn can be on either piece. Place the side with yarn tails on the right. Generally when joining and binding off, it's done by binding off while knitting both sides together, which means passing through loops of both fabric pieces simultaneously. Work knit stitches for the mattress stitch bind off. The stitch counts of the two pieces are usually identical. Work corresponding stitches while binding off. If one piece has more stitches, decrease on the side with more stitches while binding off. Suppose this piece has more stitches. Insert into 2 loops at once. Then continue inserting into 1 loop. Work knit stitches to bind off. If the back piece has more stitches, insert into 2 loops at the back at once. Work knit stitches to bind off. In my case, the stitch counts of the two pieces are identical. Continue binding them off completely. Tie a knot with the yarn tail, and tuck it in. This is the effect after joining and binding off. Next, match and sew together the hems and side seams of the front and back bodies. Here we use the row-to-row joining method for sewing. When sewing, pay attention to ensure the pattern on the edges doesn't get misaligned. Next, I'll demonstrate the row-to-row sewing method. Learn the method first before sewing. Now learn row-to-row joining. We usually also use the seamless sewing method. When sewing, pick up the horizontal strands along the edges. Let's first get familiar with the fabric piece. First, locate the first stitch at the edge. The first stitch at the edge usually has 4 situations. The first situation is a slip stitch, which means picking it up along the texture without knitting, forming a large braid. The second situation is also a slip stitch, only when knitting the slip stitch. It's opposite to the texture below, forming a knot like this. The third situation is knitting every row. Usually knit stitch on the right side, purl stitch on the wrong side, forming a small braid like this. The fourth situation is also knitting every row. Usually knit stitch on both the right side and wrong side, forming a garter stitch. The first stitch on the left side is the second stitch. For example, this fabric piece. From this side, the second stitch shows a knit stitch texture. From the other side, the second stitch shows a purl stitch texture. Whether the second stitch shows a knit stitch texture, or a purl stitch texture, you can notice, all the loops are facing forward. These backward loops. The horizontal strand underneath. Is the carrying yarn between 2 stitches? It's the same on this side too. This is the backward loop. This strand is the carrying yarn between 2 stitches. The edge worked in garter stitch follows the same principle. This is the second stitch. This column is the second stitch. Forward loop. Between these 2 stitches. Backward loop. This single strand of yarn. Is the horizontal carrying yarn between 2 stitches? The edge is slip stitch. Similarly, between these 2 stitches, there are horizontal carrying strands as well. No matter which type, one carrying strand roughly corresponds to 1 row. Before sewing, you can weave in the yarn tails on the wrong side first, and tie a knot to secure them. I won't weave them in here. Seamless sewing alternates between these two pieces each time. Picking up the horizontal strands along the edges for 2 stitches. And sew them together. Pick up 1-2 strands each time. Note, if the row counts of the 2 pieces are identical, you can sew them together correspondingly. That means the amount of strands picked each time remains the same. Always insert the needle where you last pulled out. To pick up the horizontal strand. Here, I pick up 1 strand each time. After sewing a few stitches, gently tighten. If the row counts of the 2 pieces differ, but you need to sew them together evenly, you can pick up extra strands on the side with more rows. Pick up slightly more. For example, generally pick up 1 strand each time. On the side with more rows, at appropriate positions, pick up 2 strands. The row counts of these 2 pieces are identical. I'll continue sewing them. This is the seamless sewing method for rows. Next, let's learn about sleeves. They're divided into the cuff edge, sleeve body, and sleeve cap. The cuff edge uses the alternate knit and purl stitches casting on method. Work back and forth in single rib. The technique is similar to the hem. Complete this part. After finishing, work on the sleeve body. There are several new stitch techniques used. They are all marked on the chart. Now, let's show. First, work row 1. Refer to the chart. First, knit the corresponding number of purl stitches. Then, work 1 twisted stitch. Insert into the back strand of the loop and knit 1 stitch. Twisted stitch completed. Next, work 1 lifted stitch. Lift the loop from front to back onto the right needle. Then, work 1 spo. First, slip 1 stitch knitwise from the left needle. Then, knit 1 stitch. Pick up the unworked stitch over the slipped stitch, and slip it off. Spo completed. Work 1 twisted stitch. Then, knit the corresponding number of purl stitches. Next, work 1 left cross stitch. Swap the position of these 2 stitches first. Make the left stitch sit on top. Then, knit 1 stitch each. This completes the left cross stitch. Next, continue following the chart to finish this row. Once done, row 1 is completed. Now, work row 2. On the wrong side, work the opposite stitch. First, knit the corresponding number of knit stitches. The chart shows knit twisted stitch. Here, work the opposite stitch. That means purl twisted stitch. Insert the hook into the back strand of the loop and purl. This completes the purl twisted stitch. Continue to finish this row. When encountering a yarn over, work it normally. Once done, row 2 is completed. Now, work row 3. First, purl the corresponding number of stitches. Next, work 1 twisted stitch. Then, work K2 tog. Insert the hook into the 2 loops on the left side and knit. This completes the K2 tog. Next, work 1 yarn over. 1 twisted stitch. Then, purl the corresponding number. After finishing, work 1 left crossing stitch. Then, work 1 right crossing stitch. First, swap the position of the 2 stitches on the left side. So the right stitch is on top. Then, knit 1 stitch each. This completes the right crossing stitch. Continue following the chart to finish this row. After finishing, row 3 is complete. Now, refer to the chart. Keep knitting until row 10 is done. Next, work on row 11. First, complete all the stitches before the right crossing stitch with 1 purl stitch. After finishing, work this stitch. First, swap the position of these 2 stitches. After swapping, purl 1 stitch first. Then knit 1 stitch. This completes the right crossing stitch with 1 purl stitch. Knit 1 more stitch. Make 1 yarn over. Spo, right slanting decrease. K2 tog, left slanting decrease. Make 1 yarn over, knit 1 stitch. Next, work a left crossing stitch with 1 purl stitch. First, swap the position of these 2 stitches. Then knit 1 stitch, followed by 1 purl stitch. This completes the left crossing stitch with 1 purl stitch. Now continue following the chart to finish this row. Once completed, row 11 is done. Next, everyone continue following the chart. Finish the remaining rows of the sleeve body. During later crocheting, new stitch techniques will be used, including right purl increase, purl left increase, knit right increase, and knit left increase. Below are the techniques for these stitches. Learn the methods before crocheting. Purl right increase. Find the loop below this loop. Pick up the loop from behind to front. Purl 1 stitch. This is the increased stitch. Then purl 1 stitch into this loop. Purl right increase done. Purl left increase. First purl 1 stitch into this loop. Then pick up the second loop below this loop. Purl 1 stitch. This is the increased stitch. Purl left increase done. First learn knit right increase. Normally the chain is below the loop. First pick the right strand of this chain. Knit 1 stitch. This is the increased stitch. Then continue inserting into the loop of this stitch. Knit 1 stitch. This completes the knit right increase. You can see 2 loops are made from 1 chain. Let me demonstrate again. First pick the right strand of the chain below and knit 1 stitch. Then pick up this loop and knit 1 more stitch. If there's a horizontal bar below the loop, pick the right side of the horizontal bar and knit. Then pick this loop and knit. Let me demonstrate again. First pick the right side of the horizontal bar and knit 1 stitch. Then pick this loop and knit. That's the method for knit right increase. Now let's learn knit left increase. Usually there's a chain below the loop. First pick this loop and knit 1 stitch. Then find the second chain below the loop. Use the left needle to pick the left strand of this chain from left to right. Then knit 1 stitch. This stitch on the left side is the increased stitch. That's how to do knit left increase. Let me demonstrate again. First knit 1 stitch. Then use the left needle to pick the left strand of the second chain below from left to right. Then knit 1 stitch. If there's a horizontal bar below the loop, first knit 1 stitch. Then you'll notice there's a chain right below the loop. Below the chain is a horizontal bar. Pick up the horizontal bar. Then knit 1 stitch. Let me demonstrate again. First knit 1 stitch. Then pick the horizontal bar below the chain. Then knit 1 stitch. That's all for the sleeve body. Once the sleeve body is finished, next we'll learn how to knit the sleeve cap. The method is almost the same as the sleeve body, only here we need to decrease stitches on both sides. The decreasing technique is identical to the front and back bodies. After everything is done, bind off all stitches. Now follow the chart and knit it yourself. That's all for the sleeves. Once the sleeves are finished, sew the sleeve cuff edge to the side seam of the sleeve body. The sewing method is the same as joining the side seams of the front and back bodies with the hem. Complete this part. Finally, sew the sleeve cap side edge to the armhole position of the front and back bodies. Match up the underarm seam position. The middle part of the sleeve cap corresponds to the shoulder connecting position. Secure the edges at several spots. Sew using the row to row technique. Here's the sewing method for you. Learn the technique before sewing. That completes the sleeve instructions. Now let's learn how to crochet the front band. Pick up stitches at the front body hem, body and chest section positions. After picking up stitches, work in single rib. Use the same method as the hem. Finish off using the single rib bind-off technique. Here's the stitch picking method for the front band. Same as the single rib bind-off technique. Pay attention when picking up stitches. Avoid creating large holes. Pick up stitches through the chain space between the two edge stitches. Refer to the chart for specific stitch pattern. Adjust according to actual situation if needed. Ensure the fabric lies flat and looks neat after picking up. Evenly distribute the corresponding number of stitches. Single rib bind off, which involves moving the right needle to switch the yarn position, usually after finishing the single rib. This bind off method can be used. I have a small single rib piece here. First knit 2 stitches with opposite texture to the one below. The first stitch of this small piece has a chain underneath. The second stitch has a horizontal bar underneath. So knit 1 purl stitch first. Then knit 1 knit stitch. Then pass the previous stitch over the next stitch. And slip it off. This binds off 1 stitch. Continue knitting 1 stitch with opposite texture to the one below. Here it's a chain. Should knit 1 purl stitch. Before knitting, pinch the bottom of the loop on the right needle with your left hand. Take the needle out. Place it under the yarn and back into the loop. Then knit the purl stitch. Then cover the previous stitch over the next stitch. This binds off another stitch. Continue knitting 1 stitch with opposite texture to the one below. Here it's a horizontal line. Should knit 1 knit stitch. Before knitting, take the needle out. Place it above the yarn and back into the loop. Knit 1 knit stitch. Then cover the previous stitch over the next stitch. This binds off another stitch. Always knit stitches with opposite texture to the one below. And before knitting, always move the right needle to change the yarn position. When purling, the yarn should be above. When knitting, the yarn should be below. Let's continue binding them off. When there's only 1 loop left, secure and weave in the ends. This is the method for single rib bind off. That completes the front band section. Next, let's learn about the collar. Pick up stitches along the neckline and front band of the front and back bodies. Refer to the chart for specific stitch counts. You can also adjust as needed. After picking up, the total should be an odd number. Once completed, knit in single rib pattern. After finishing, bind off in single rib. The method is identical to the hem. Next, here's a method for picking up stitches at the neckline. After picking up stitches, follow the chart to knit. Position the right side of the garment towards you, with the collar facing up. Starting from the right front piece's front band, pick up stitches along this side edge. Make a slip knot with the yarn tail. Insert the straight needle into 1/2 strands of this front band side edge. Pick up the knotted loop. Adjust the loop size. Continue picking up stitches along the front band side edge downward. Refer to the chart for the exact stitch count. Upon completion, reach the bind-off position on the right front piece. Pick up stitches for the bind-off using the chain loops. Refer to the chart for the exact stitch count. Then continue picking up stitches along the right front side edge. Next, pick up stitches for the bind-off on the back body loops. Continue downward using this method. Pick up the remaining sections. Continue until finishing the front band side edge on the left front piece. Pay attention to adjusting the stitch count while picking up stitches. Being off by 1 or 2 stitches is fine. The final stitch count should be an odd number. This completes the picking up process. The remaining part of the collar is simple to crochet. Follow the chart and work single rib stitch back and forth. Once done, finish off using the single rib bind-off method. The technique is identical to the front band. Refer to the previous demonstration and finish crocheting them. That concludes the collar section. Finally, secure the buttons. Buttons consist of male and female parts. The half with holes is the female part. The half with beads is the male part. Evenly sew 5 on both left and right front bands. The position of male and female parts can follow the finished product, or sew according to your preference. Now I'll take either half as an example. To demonstrate the sewing method, cut about 30 cm of yarn. Insert the yarn needle. First secure the yarn tail. Place the button at the corresponding position. Note that the textured side should face outward. Then sew through both round holes of the button. After sewing, tie a knot on the wrong side to secure the yarn tail. This is the sewing method for buttons. Now follow the same method to complete sewing all the buttons. That's all for the buttons. Next, let's learn how to make tassels. Make them at the hem and front band positions. Use the remaining yarn. You can use the same color yarn, or yarn in different colors. It's up to your preference. Make about 4 or 5 tassels at the front band position. Space each tassel about 1 stitch apart at the hem. The number of tassels can also be made according to your preference. Now I'll demonstrate the tassel making method. Cut about 3 yarn tails approximately 10 cm in length. The length can be decided based on your preference. Fold the yarn tails in half. Then along the front band edge, insert the hook from the wrong side to the right side, and pick up about 1-2 stitches to draw through. Draw the loop through. Then draw the yarn tail through the loop. Adjust it. You can also cut 3 strands of different colors. Fold them in half. Then draw through from the corresponding position. This is the tassel making method. Now continue along the front band and hem to complete the tassels. That's all for tassels. Up to this point, the entire garment has been explained. If you have any unclear parts during the crochet process, don't hesitate to join our Facebook group to get supports. Susan's Family, supporting your handwork experience, sharing the joy of life. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.